I had a spell actually as a stripper, and it's where I learned high ticket sales. It
Wait,
also
wait, 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 wait. Do you ever come across a coaching program and wonder how they sold it, why they built it, and what life looks for them day to day? From that very first client to the 10th, 100th, and 1000th client, I want to know all the details. I'm Michelle Rockwood, and I teach life coaches how to sell their coaching for thousands, without scripts and with your entire heart and soul. Join me as we deep dive behind the scenes into some of the world's most successful coaches, from 25,000 to 25 million and everywhere in between. Morgana has agreed to hold nothing back, and she's here to share her secrets to finding clients, selling in an aligned way, and delivering business coaching with femininity front and center. Well, welcome, Morgana.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
I'm so excited to connect with you. And of all the questions that I had written down, that all that we have planned today, we have an amazing podcast planned for you today. I was drawn to your childhood and your breeding and selling of pets. So completely unrelated, but you were 8 years old. Tell me about this.
Okay, so first I just want to highlight that I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so it's not super weird that I had business ideas. I made my first independent money when I was 3. I managed to land a speaking role in a movie, and that was great. So I actually already had the idea that children can do things and make money, instilled in me from childhood. And I started in my mom's business when I was 7. And so when I was 8, to be fair, the first time we bred hamsters, it was accidental because they were meant to be 2 girls. But it's really hard to tell with hamsters, so it turned out to be a boy and a girl. And Mrs. Bitey and Mr. Nicey were the 2 parent hamsters. And we split off a number of different breeding pairs, and I bred hamsters. And then I later added tropical fish and rabbits and various other things. And our house was like a menagerie from I was 8 until I was 14 and got into boys. And I bred pets and sold them direct to people in the community and also to pet shops.
Oh my gosh. And then when you got into boys, I imagine like all the pets like dying and you're just like walking out the door.
They didn't die. They don't live a huge lifetime, most of these animals. So it just kind of naturally started to not breed new ones. And over the course of up to maybe about age 17, most of the pets were, apart from a couple of rabbits, were not living anymore, just naturally.
But I understand, Morgana, you had like a pretty interesting childhood. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. There's some real highs and some real lows, one of which was dealing with the life-threatening allergies throughout my entire childhood, and that impacted me really profoundly. I missed about 6 years of school if you add it up all together.
Wow. And now were you homeschooled? Like what was happening during that time? You just had to be away from other kiddos or getting...
Mostly I was too ill to be homeschooled. Like as soon as I started to get better, my parents would send me back out again because of course they didn't want me to miss out on all the social element. So usually if I was at home, it was because I literally just couldn't even I couldn't even watch the television. I'd just be like lying, looking at the wall, essentially really ill. And I think, it's something that my parents it's been complicated for them to process, because part of them is like, well, they wanted to keep me safe, and partly they wanted me to have as normal a life as possible. So I had these kind of spells of being very isolated and then just, being out in the world where I always wanted to live at, 100 miles an hour.
Wow. It had to be really lonely too.
Yeah, I had a very strong imaginative sort of component to my life. I've always read loads. Like I remember there was one year I read a book every single day, like 365 books in the year. So I kept...
What? How many books a year?
I read 365 books in 1 year.
That's insane. And are you still an avid reader?
I am still an avid reader. Yeah.
Amazing. So before we get into all the details of your coaching program, how you bring people in, all the things, we should talk about how you started, or actually where you pushed off from, and that's academia. Can you talk about your Ph.D. and how that road led you actually to coaching, ironically?
Yes, I can, although that's not quite exactly where it started. It started a little before that. I had a spell actually as a stripper, and that was a really incredible learning journey for me. And it's where I learned high ticket sales. And it also
Wait. Okay, so you have to give me some context here a little bit. How old were you? When was this happening? How did you?
So I had a serious accident and I was in plaster for 16 weeks on my left arm and leg. I'm left-handed, so that was a big deal.
Wow.
And over the course of that, I lost my job, so I lost my income and I had racked up a bunch of debts. And it just felt like, I don't know, I was really inspired to do it. I felt really called. I thought that's going to help me with the physical aspects of the injuries. I'll be able to get really fit. I had suffered from eating disorders my entire teens and depression, and I had no body confidence. So it seemed like a weird choice. But I thought, if I can do that, I could do anything. That was the mindset. If I could do that, I could do anything. And so I set myself the intention. All I have to do in the first instance is just go to a strip club and see what it's like. And I was like, all I have to do is just book an audition. I don't even have to show up. And then I was like, well, I'll just show up. But I could always walk back out the door, and it's like, well, I'll just do the audition. And so I wound up, we got the job, and it was so healing for me. And it's where I really learned about what it is to be in your feminine energy. And I really mastered feminine sales there. And that also paid for the trip. That made me realize I wanted to go into academia. So that's really the starting point, because I went traveling in Turkey and I went to Ephesus, which was the merchant capital of the Roman Empire. And it was really a sort of intercultural there. There's all kinds of different faiths, all different kinds of people there. And the ruins of all of that, these incredible archaeological ruins. And I was standing on that street knowing that the Cleopatra had walked on those exact same cobblestones, and I just felt this like massive rush of energy, and I was like, this is how I want to understand the world. Like, I want to know how the patterns of deep time, how the seasons and cycles of our being in the world have brought us to where we are right now. And I came home from that trip and applied for university.
Wow. For your undergrad?
Yeah.
Wow. I have to tell you, I'm still kind of stuck at that audition, that stripper audition, because how the hell did you know what to do?
Yeah, so I haven't not told you the best part of the audition. I did hold back a tiny bit, and I promised I wouldn't, so I'll tell you. I actually didn't know what to do, but that is why I got the job. So as soon as the audition started, the guys, 2 men, were interviewing me, just like a normal job interview, like totally normal interview at a desk. And they said to me, can you take off your clothes, because we have to see that there's no like unusual markings or, ugly tattoos or anything like that. So I took all my clothes off. And this was I just have to do. I was like, I just have to take them off and it'll be fine. And, I can still walk out the door anytime, right? So I was in that mindset. They never actually said the words, okay, you can put your clothes back on. So I didn't put my clothes back on. I did the whole entire rest of the job interview where I talked about my pay expectations and all of that stuff, fully naked, not even pants, nothing. And at the end of it, they were like, that is the most badass thing we have ever seen in our entire lives. Hands down, you have got the job.
Oh my God.
So that was how I got started.
That is amazing. That is so amazing. Can you talk about your first coaching experience and how did you find coaching? I remember I had my first coach. My mom sent me her coach. She was an executive at Kaiser, and she said, I have this amazing coach. You got to talk to her. And I couldn't believe it. Like, she totally changed my life. I quit my job. I went to France. I got a raise. Like, it was incredible. And it took me 10 years to come back to coaching, but I was hooked. I knew that was something I was going to do. Did you have an experience like that, or how did you come into coaching in the first place?
So there's 2 different sort of trajectories there in terms of coaching. One is that, I worked with my academic mentor for 8 years, but in so many ways he was a coach, like he was somebody who encouraged me to put myself forward. He encouraged me to see my own genius. He encouraged me to go further than I'd gone before. And he also helped to create opportunities and, introduce me to people and all kinds of things. And I want to just say that's incredibly rare in academia. It's very common that a supervisor will want to publish your work in their own name, or a supervisor will take
Wow.
all the credit and you just have to mark all the papers or something. But he went to, I mean, he even invited me to contribute to a think tank that he was heading up for 2 years, where I got to work with some of like the greatest minds in my fields, and to have these huge conversations about how our current reality has unfolded over the past 500 years. So there is that aspect of working with him on my academic work, but so much of the personal stuff comes with it, because all the things that we deal with as entrepreneurs, the imposter syndrome, the procrastination, the perfectionism, all of that stuff was stuff that he coached me on, right? So there's that. But coaching as an industry, it was like magic that I even found that. One day I was online, I was thinking about writing my book, thinking it's time for me to write my book. And the next thing, as Facebook does, it's like it reads your thoughts. A post came up, somebody was doing a 5-day challenge, write your bestseller. I was like, oh, I'll do the 5-day challenge. And so I did the 5-day challenge. And of course, at the end of it, she offered the program, and it's $1,000. And I was like, I don't have $1,000 right now, but if I had enough to do the 2 payments, I could do that. And literally, I'm not even kidding, something came through the letterbox, and I went to the door, and it was a check. My husband had accidentally been charged £500 too much in tax, and he was getting this tax money back.
Wow.
And so that was like, okay, well, that covers even more than half of it. Actually, I can, like, I'll be able to pay that first installment, and in a month's time, when installment 2 is due, I'll have that. So I signed up, and nobody else really signed up for the program. There's a handful of people, but they never showed up in the calls. So I wound up actually getting the one-to-one calls in pretty much every session. And as I told her about my book, she was like, I don't doubt this is a great book, but it needs to be a coach of business, and you should start that right now.
Really?
Yeah.
And is this the book that's coming out now? So this was years ago?
Yeah. So this is like, the book that's coming out now is way beyond the book that I was writing back.
Okay.
But it is the sort of, it's the evolved, what's coming out now is the evolved version of that book. So she was the one that really introduced me to the fact that coaching existed as an online industry. Now, by the time I came into the online industry, like, I supported hundreds of undergraduates and postgraduates in one-to-one group and workshops. I had been a young spiritual leader and all kinds of things. So I had all the pieces that I needed. I just hadn't known that the coaching industry existed online like that. And as soon as I found that, I was like, I've come home.
Wow. Okay. So take me to your first client. You this coach, right, helps you realize that you're already a coach, that you've been doing something so similar, and now you can bring it online and charge for your services in a different way. How did you get those first coaching clients? Because that's where a lot of people are, and they're, they have similar backgrounds, where they too come to that realization, like, shit, people are coming to me, whether it's I'm a yoga teacher or a personal trainer, or I host a book club, or I have this huge Facebook group, right? People are attracted to me. So those first clients, what did that look and feel like?
So for me, the first clients came from conversations. That's how I'd also created my entire PhD, was basically have conversations, find out which bits people resonate with. That makes it into the thesis. Have some more conversations, go and do some conferences, see what everybody likes, drill into even more, and so on. So it was the same with the business. I found that as I was telling my friends and family what I was doing, and saying, like, I'm really excited about this, I can see how I can do that. And it, like, if I bring all of these things that I did with students, along with that stuff that I've done in the spiritual capacity, if I bring all that together, it's going to be magical. People started saying, well, how do I do it? How do I take part? Like, yes, I want it. And so the first clients came from just being unapologetic about the fact that I was doing it and telling people. So the only people I didn't tell was my in-laws. So the first year, at least, kind of hid it until my husband was like leaving his job and stuff. And then we're like, by the way, Morgana has a business and I'm leaving my job. And they were like, wait, what?
Oh my
gosh. But everybody else knew about it. And it was just having these conversations. I think that's something I certainly see with my clients, is people are really frightened to tell their friends and family what they're doing because they think they'll be judged. But you heard before, your vibe attracts your tribe. You've already attracted people right about you before you even start your business that are waiting for that version of you to exist.
This is so awesome and simple. I mean, this is exactly what, we teach is it's essentially you were doing market research, right? And those people really oftentimes become your first clients because you're not being salesy. You're super excited about it. You're genuinely curious. And I even love how you kind of, I think, intuitively knew to not tell your in-laws, right? You're like,
yeah,
I'll tell them when they're ready or when I'm ready. And that's okay too. Just don't fucking tell people, right? If you know that there might be some resistance or they might stop your flow, even subconsciously, don't tell them. Tell the people that will be super excited and continue to seek them out. And so, hell yes, totally simple.
Hey there, my heart-centered coaching friends. As a sales coach, the most common question I get is, how do I overcome the money objection? And I get it. Helping clients understand the value of your coaching takes practice. So, in response to your request, I created a super amazing mini training just for you. But it's not what you think. It's going to forever change how you look at objections and buying questions. I've even created a cheat sheet just for you to help you set the stage for a yes before you even say hello. Head on over to michellerockwood.com/sales and grab it today.
So you invited the first person, said, how do I do this? And you said what?
In the beginning, I was really looking for people to be co-creators with me. And so that was one of the reasons why my early coaching, the investment was really low, because I was like, I don't have it perfectly nailed out. It's not been delivered as a system like this, but we started out with 12 sessions over 12 weeks. And it was like, I'm going to bring you the very best that I've got. I absolutely promise you that. I will show up for this at the very, very, very greatest level that I possibly have, but I don't know exactly what the outcome will be other than that it will be exciting and great. And so what I was really looking for was what we would call early adopters. You're looking for the people that are prepared to join you on the journey, even although you don't have I can absolutely guarantee that this is my brand promise and this will be the result. That, I think, actually is a really exciting and really powerful time in your business. If you lean into that, instead of thinking, I have to nail a promise, I've got to get my one sentence that says, I help so-and-so do such and such, forget all of that stuff would be my advice. Hopefully that's not counter to everything you tell everybody. But what I would say is, number one thing, have real conversations, show up as the best version of yourself. When I got funding for my PhD, that funding was around about £75,000, so about $100,000 for work that didn't exist yet, right? When they decided to fund me, they had no idea what the end product would be. They were just betting it would be good, right? And that was based on who I had been for the 6-7 years before, where they could say, well, her academic career has been excellent so far, and she's done all these other things, and she's, presented at conferences and blah, blah, blah. So on balance, she'll probably do a good job. And it's the same thing. You have already done a good job at something before when you come into your business. And what you're really saying is, I'm going to bring that level of me, the level that did a good job before. I don't know exactly what the result will be, but will you journey with me? Will you explore this with me? Right?
Badass. I love it. So you really let yourself off the hook so that you can be yourself. And then other people come in too with less expectations. You haven't promised the moon, right? You said this is going to be messy. And they come into, we typically call this a beta program, right? And so they come in and that helps you build your confidence to charge more once you see their resuls. So I love it. Real conversations with human beings, your beta program, and then what happened next?
So one of the things I want to say, just to add on to that's part of what happened next is you have to bring your very best skills. What I'm not saying is just wake up one day and decide you're going to be a coach, or wake up one day and decide you're going to be a web designer and you've never done it a day in your life, and just charge money for it and it'll be messy and you'll figure it out. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying bring your very, very best, bring all that you've got, bring your A game, bring your greatest skills. And those are the things that's what will build your business, because then you'll be in integrity. So you'll feel really good. It will be easy for you to show up. They'll get great results. Where people try this and they're really challenged is let's say somebody's been trying to get clients for a few months and they're really struggling. So they've been learning all the things to get clients. And then they suddenly start to offer, I'll teach you how to get clients. that is going to be a super hard sell because you have not mastered that for yourself at all. But if you do, as I did, and as I encourage my clients to do, go into your deepest skills, the things that you could do in your sleep, and offer that, knowing that you're going to grow and add on to it over time, then you know that you've got something that you can absolutely deliver. What you just don't know the result. So it shouldn't be a question of can I deliver this or not. It's just a question of what is the actual absolute hard, like, sort of end result as a product of it. So when you asked me what I did next, and I had to clarify that piece first, what I was doing with those early clients is I was looking, what are the common threads? What are the pieces of my genius? What are the things that I have to offer that they find unique? Doesn't mean they're unique in the world. I don't have to be the only one in the world. I don't have to be the best. But like, what are the pieces that for them, they're like, that resonates really hard for me. I need that. I want that. That really create chefs. And those became the things that were curated into my program.
Love all, this is just ridiculously awesome. So your program then moved to it's one-on-one, right?
I have had group programs. I ran one group program, a year-long program for 2 years. At the moment, I've been in a one-to-one phase because I've been writing my book and these other pieces. Yeah. And so I was having a break from having a group program, but groups will be coming back. So
okay, so this those real conversations, the market research, the beta program, how long ago was that?
Oh my goodness, 2018 into 2019. So we founded the business in September 2018. I was 7 months pregnant. Maribel was born in the beginning of December. And Duncan was able to leave his 9 to 5 at the beginning of July in 2019.
Wow. That's really fast.
So the 6 months before I officially founded the business, sort of April 2018, basically when I found out I was pregnant, whenever that was, April, May to September, that is the time when I had that experience with the coach that I told you about, where I was like, I need to write my book. And then she told me about the coaching industry and stuff. So that's the other thing I would say is that I didn't found the business on like sort of day one. There was that kind of, maybe not quite 6 months, but certainly 4 months where I was just like researching the coaching industry, really getting to grips with all of that, doing some training of my own and various other things.
So how did you go? I mean, this is a kind of a big leap, right? From this beta program to now charging $20,000. Is it for a year-long program or 6 months?
That's for a 6 months one-to-one, and then an accreditation process to become accredited in my modality.
Awesome. So how did you go from several $100s or several £100 to where you are now? Like how did you, and like bring me back to those stripper days too. Like how did that sales come in and bring you to that higher ticket price?
So there's two pieces there, right? Let's do the stripper piece first. When I was working in the strip clubs, what most people do is go around and they'll basically say, do you want to dance? Do you want to dance? Do you want to dance? Mm-hmm. To all the guys until somebody says yes. And one dance is about 3 minutes long and they get paid, like, let's say $10 or £10. At that time, it was £10 for one dance, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're going around doing that, then you maybe get one client. If you're lucky, if you're pretty good at it, you get one client in every 20 minutes or so. So in an hour, you make £30, right? And I did that for a couple of weeks and I was like, this is not the way to do this. Like, no, this is like the equivalent of trying to sell one hamster to one family one at a time when you could be selling to pet shops. So what I started to do was really focus on the stag do's. And, the large groups of guys that come in and they're all there for a party. And inside of that, I realized that not every person in the stag do is my ideal client, but there's always one, right? He's always slightly older than the rest of the group. It's his youngest friend that is getting married. He has got young kids at home and a wife. He doesn't want to mess anything up. He doesn't want to get into any trouble. He's conscious of the fact of everybody getting, messy, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want for his friend, for him to do anything that his future wife is going to like, haul over the coals and all the rest of it, right? So there's this one guy in the group that knows in his mind, we're here to have a good time together as friends, and we want to like have some good memories of this night, and we don't want anybody getting in trouble. And that is the guy that will say to everybody, you know what, guys, let's all just pay 40 quid a head and we'll do the stag do. And it's 12 minutes long. and it's a wild ride and you get photographs at the end of it and all the rest of it, but it's contained, right? It has a container. It's not each individual guy just blowing hundreds of dollars and then other guys feeling super icky and wishing they weren't there and all the rest of it, because it's actually about the relationship between the guys. And that one guy, I could sell to that guy and it would be like £1,500 for the whole group of them to take part in that experience. And it only takes 12 minutes and I could sell a few of them in a night. So even if I spent an hour talking to a group of guys and then sold that, I would walk away with so much more money compared to the girl that went around saying, do you want to dance? Do you want to dance? Do you want to dance? Do you want to dance?
I'm sorry, I have to pause there and like do a little round of applause. You found your ideal client. You offered a container of support, like it had a beginning and end, and you leveraged your time. Like, fantastic and so interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay, carry on. Tell me what's next.
That guy was so easy for me to sell to. Like, I've got 2 brothers and tons of guy cousins and all the rest of it. Like, I could have a great chat with that guy and he would feel like they were going to be safe in my hands. And that's been my journey in this business. Also has been really looking at making sure people will be safe in my hands. That's what number one value is, that I will never abandon, shame, or betray anybody in my business, in my copy, in my sales conversations, in my containers, and that I'm really genuinely creating something that is as safe as I can possibly create. And so part of that has been, I raise my rates not based on whether or not I'm fully booked, not based on whether or not I want to make more money, not based on whether or not my group program has a bunch of people in it, but on the client results. And so, for example, when I went from £2,000 to £4,000, that was because clients were doing things like buying their dream house and buying a Mercedes. When I raised my rates from £4,000 to £7,000, that was because people were doing things like, one person in my group program had 100x our investment. And when I share my results, I've got people that have gone from 5K to 40K months. And I've got people that have, one person manifested $1 million, one person manifested 100,000, stuff like that. I don't share that stuff. What I do talk about is how my clients 2x, 4x, 6x, or 10x. I talk about growth, not the actual specific numbers, because growth is something we're all capable of, but particular numbers come from particular contexts, right? So somebody coming in and they've already got X, Y, and Z in place, the particular numbers they can achieve are not the same as somebody that's got A, B, and C.
Right.
But growth is always possible for us wherever we are. And so what I look at when I'm pricing is, where does my value and my genuine soulmate ideal client, where do the two of them intersect so that the investment will actually accelerate their growth? Because if it's too low, they won't show up. If it's too low, they're going to just skip out. I've done it myself, paid thousands of dollars or something and then gone to one call because it just didn't have the time for it.
Absolutely.
And on the other hand, if it's too high, I'm not saying that, not in a moral thing, not like there's no such thing as too high, but if for my soulmate client, that investment is too big, it's hard for them to stay in trust. It's hard for them to stay in growth and not to retract and to go into places of shame or fear, places that I don't want my ideal client to go. And so that's something that I'm conscious of.
So you raise your prices incrementally based on your clients' results.
Yeah.
And I actually think this is unique. So often I hear coaches coming in and starting at a really, really, really high rate, and then they struggle because they haven't built up the stairs and they can't get those results for the clients each time. And so now they're on this roller coaster. And for me, those stair stepping and really creates that stability, that confidence. Now I get on a call with somebody, I'm like, absolutely, I can help you, with just absolute confidence. Whereas when you're charging super high right out of the gate, you don't have that foundation that you're describing.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the really great things when you do it that way is that you don't need to build your business all by yourself. My business is primarily built on referrals and returning clients. Whereas when your investment is like not related really to your average result, your investment, because a lot of people will relate their investment to the best ever result they've created. I want to relate my investment to the absolute bog standard. Anybody can do this level, right? When it's related to that, only the 1% result is that most of your clients are not going to be rushing to sign back up again. They're not going to be rushing to refer you. Like, I got genuine family trees in my business where it's like, she worked with me and then her sister and then her best friend and then her sister's best friend and all of this kind of thing, right? And that's only possible because I'm intent on building my business from a feminine energy. And it doesn't have to be like, a sprint all the time.
Yeah, a sprint all the time. Absolutely. So now, okay, you said you're getting your clients from referrals. Where, like, do you have a regular system of posting or emails or going on podcasts? Do you have any sort of regular system that you always make sure to do to get yourself in front of clients on an ongoing basis?
I do all of those things. I post on Facebook. I tend to post very long posts, actually. I know that if I post one of my like long, almost blog post style posts, that I'll definitely get inbound inquiries. I do regularly go on podcasts. I'm present on Instagram. It's not a big focus for me. You can't be 100%. You don't have the capacity to be absolutely flat out on every platform. So Instagram is just my kind of, it's like a slow burn kind of one. But actually, the clients that don't come from testimonials and referrals, repeating clients and referrals, most of them come from the most magical places. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'll be in a sales call trying to buy from somebody else, and they'll turn around and say, I'm sorry, we have got this wrong. I would like to buy from you instead, please. I've gone on people's podcasts, and multiple times at the end of the episode, they have said, how do I sign up? And so I really want people to believe that there are clients everywhere. Like, clients can come from everywhere. It's the energy and the intention and the embodied way that you're present and the confidence that you have in your work. Like, those things are the magic. It's not posting 5 days a week that is the magic. It's not having a strategy where you take one live video and turn it into 20 pieces of content. That's not the magic. Like, those things scale the magic, but the magic comes from inside of you. It's from the timbre of your voice and the way that you inhabit yourself and your genuine passion for helping people and all of those things. It's literally how you come across to others that changes the sales in your business.
This is so refreshing because you're reminding us to actually just be really good at what you do. Be amazing at what you do. Focus on your inner work, focus on connecting to your clients. And then the next client will come and your confidence will grow. And those blog posts or the Facebook posts you post are genuine and heartfelt. And I know I'm sucked into them. Right? Like, there's this beautiful connection and authenticity and rawness. I mean, you're sharing, your stripper days and you're selling the hamsters, and you're just 100% you, whether you pass or fail. And I love that.
Thank you. There's something that I would love to just share, because sometimes people can think, yeah, but she has a PhD. Of course she's great at what she does. I work with people at all different stages in their business. Everyone has a zone of genius, but so often we just don't know it because it's something that is not valued in our culture, because we live in such a masculine culture that says it's only right if you've got an A in it. It's only right if you've been paid for it. It's only right if it's a recognizable one of the sort of the core skills that are valued by our society. But everybody has a zone of genius. And when you find that, whatever it is, like one of my clients recently, about 9 months ago now, transitioned into supporting people through their journey after alcohol. So not actually helping people to stop drink, but people who have stopped drinking and then realize that there's an emotional gap because the alcohol was numbing things that they now need to deal with, and those things are coming up. And it's not the sexy get your 10K month method here or any of that stuff, but it's completely real to her journey. So she can show up and talk about her own struggles with alcohol and how it impacted her life and all the rest of it. She is absolutely in her zone of genius, and her business is just like not only continually fully booked, she grew an audience of like over 30,000 in a few months. They love her. Like, I see on her posts all the time people saying things like, your posts are changing my life. Like, I come to your page every day for inspiration and stuff like that.
Wow. Amazing.
But I just want everyone to know we all have it. It's not, yeah, but she has a PhD. everybody has a version of themselves that is magnetic.
Search for that. So tell us about your book. Tell us what inspired you to write this book. Who is it for? Where can we find it?
So my book is for people that have experienced themselves as other in some way. So women, absolutely, without doubt, but also the people in the LGBTQ community, which I also am, people that are neurodiverse, also me, people with a disability or an invisible disability, mine is invisible, people in the BIPOC community, and I also have invisible Black heritage. It's for people that have felt outside or other because our society is set up for the success of a particular, very small niche of the demographic, right? And it is the combination of my my life story and my academic work sort of woven together. So there are parts of it that are more that are softer storytelling, some biographical aspects, and there are parts that are quite academic and really draw on my years of research. There are parts, there's poetry in there and short stories and these things that I talked about in terms of my PhD. Like, I'm pushing to the edge of what is normal for a book. It's got journaling prompts and things inside of it, exercises and things. And my hope is that it will help people that have experienced limitation in the world, that feel like the world is not really made for them. We're told, for example, be consistent, but consistency matches up with the male body. The male body has consistent energy every day. It doesn't match up to the female body, which is 28 different people in a month, right? The peak of your energy and the lowest point of your energy are really far apart as a woman. And that's before we get into things like if you have an underlying medical condition or if you're neurodiverse, which massively impacts your capacity for consistency. And so it's really actually taken down the structure of our reality, which is what my PhD is about, how reality and identity are co-created in relationship with all these things that we engage with, and looking at it's actually a construct. It's not real. Like, it's just in our contemporary Western society, we believe these things are real, but they're not objectively real. And what happens if we peel that back and then start to rediscover ourselves again?
Love it. Sounds amazing. When I read the title, I got chills. Unbecoming, Your Unorthodox Guide to Radical Wholeness. I'm excited. Where can we find it?
You will be able to find it on Amazon from the 22nd of the 2nd, 22. So that's by the time this comes out, that might already be past the 22nd of February. I picked that date especially because it's very magical.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing so much. And I want to ask you one final question. And that is, if you could go back in time and start it all over again, what, if anything, would you do differently?
I wouldn't do anything differently. That's a question that I've thought about a lot because I experienced a huge amount of trauma in my childhood and teens, and multiple different kinds of trauma. And yet I'm here in a life that I love, with a family that I adore, in a world that feels full of possibility and where I can make a positive change. And none of those things would be true if I hadn't experienced all the rest of it. So
absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey coaches, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you like the show, I have 2 asks for you. 1, share the podcast with a coaching pal that could use support around sales. And secondly, leave a review in whatever app you're listening on. And if you'd like to learn more about selling your coaching unscripted, head to unscriptedsales.com or find me at Instagram at Michelle M. Rockwood. See you soon. Happy sales.